Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Shoestring Jane, and here I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. Today I'm just doing a kind of mid-February no spend update to let you know how I've got on, and a general sort of life update and the way I'm feeling, possibly a bit of a rant. Let's see, I've done various things this week, but I've been very much hampered by fibromyalgia and just feeling exhausted. It's hard to explain to people because you can't see it and I look fine. It's really hard to explain to people who don't have any experience of fibromyalgia what it feels like, especially I consider that mine is quite mild. But sometimes it just feels like you've been hit by a truck, and that's what I was like over the weekend, the days leading up to the weekend, and since. I've felt a little bit better the last few days, but it's just tiring, just getting out of bed in the morning, you're tired. By the evening, everything hurts, your joints hurt. My brain goes into a fog. So if anything I need to concentrate on, I have to get done really early in the morning. I get up and I try and get showered and get my yoga practice done, because that really helps all the aches and pains. And try and get things done early. Unfortunately, Archie tends to want his walk pretty quickly, so then I get back from the walk and I'm knackered before I've started. But Justin's been doing a lot of the walking for me this week, so I can get on with some other things. So it's been one of those kind of weeks where it's a bit frustrating because I don't get done the things that I would like to get done. Partly due to tiredness, partly due just to the way life is at the moment, really. But anyway, let's start with my no spend February. Let's see how I'm getting on with that. You will know, if you've watched previous videos, that I failed immediately by buying a second-hand sofa from the charity shop for £60 plus £20 delivery. But I still don't consider that a no spend fail, because it was just a great buy, and you really have to sometimes just grab these things when you see them if you need them. So I've let myself off that. Other than that, I did stretch the grocery budget for Valentine's Day to buy a meal deal, which I was going to do kind of steak and chips and a salad or something, because that's what Justin really enjoys. It's his favourite meal, and that tends to be a kind of Valentine's Day meal in. We rarely go out because you can spend a lot of money at a restaurant on Valentine's Day. Plus, I don't really want to go and sit with a load of people at the moment still. I've said this before, sorry if I'm repeating myself. So we ended up getting the Asda Valentine's Day meal, which cost £15. And I do think it was a really, really good buy, because you got a little, well, I chose, what we chose when we went in there was a baked camembert. So it was in the shape of a love heart. And we had that with just some slices of toast bread that we could dip in as our starter. You could get steak. There were other options as well, but I kind of went for the steak because I knew that Justin would really like that, and I quite like a steak. And there were some triple cooked chips that you could get with it. So we got that, and another side which was roasted chanterelle, are they called? Chantenay? Carrots, little tiny baby ones anyway. With a kind of honey glaze and some parsnips in there as well. And I did some peas because it felt like it needed some green stuff on the plate as well. So we had that for our main course. And then for dessert, we had chocolate millionaires cheesecakes, I think they were. But they were lovely. They were really nice. And then you got, on top of that, you got a bottle of drink. I mean, we chose Prosecco. Or you could have had a box of chocolates. So I thought that was actually a really good deal. Imagine how much you'd pay for a three-course meal if you went out on Valentine's Day. So you were supposed to get a movie voucher with it. We couldn't work out how to sort the movie vouchers. We gave up in the end. You were supposed to scan your receipt in and get a free Sky movie pass just for one film. I've still got a couple of days on that, so I could try and sort it out, but I didn't really think it was probably worth all of the time, especially when I tell you in a minute what the kind of frustrations I've had this week. But we did watch a film on Netflix, and we do pay for Netflix, and generally think it's worthwhile because we don't have a package. So we've got like a broadband, and we don't have a TV package, so we do pay for Netflix. And we watched a Benedict Cumberbatch film. Is that how you pronounce his name? We watched his one. It's made by Jane Campion. She's a New Zealand director, and I remember watching the piano years ago. It's all beautiful cinematography, and it's always quite, the plot's always quite subdued with Jane Campion films, it feels like. And this was the same. It was called The Power of the Dog. And Justin didn't really like it. We both watched it all the way through. I did enjoy it. It wasn't fast paced or action packed, but it was the kind of film that you go away and you're thinking about it for a while afterwards, and the plots and the characters. And I think that probably does make a good film for me. It was interesting. I would recommend it. If you like an action movie, then you probably won't like it. If you like a beautifully shot film with really good acting, then you might like it. So I quite enjoyed it. So we did push the boat out for that as far as the grocery bill goes, but that will come out of the grocery bill. So we'll make that fit for the grocery budget at the end of the month. And it is a short month as well, so we haven't kind of taken that into account when we've set the budget. So that was done. So I mean, some people would say that's a no spend fail. I just think it's nice to, I don't know, it's just nice to mark things. I do think Valentine's Day, like Mother's Day and all those other things, is just basically really commercial. But you can still use it as an opportunity to show somebody that you care about them and you love them without spending a lot of money. And the other thing we did, we both made Valentine's Day cards for each other. I'll show you those in a bit. And I think it's so much nicer to make a nice card for somebody if you can. You don't have to be particularly artistic. I mean, Justin just printed out a photograph and stuck it to a card, and that was fine. You don't have to be particularly crafty. So what else have I done? I've spent money on stock. You've seen that in previous videos, so I'm still working my way through that, and that kind of makes you feel like you're still spending. So I was allowing myself business expenses. I bought some printer ink, but that's an essential as well. So I haven't bought really anything else apart from just paying for bills and buying petrol and that kind of thing. So it's been a very low spend month. I mean, those of you who are purists would say the Valentine's thing was not essential. Could have just had beans on toast for our Valentine's dinner. But, you know, that was fine for us, so it'll come out of the budget. And then I've had frustrating times on phone calls to companies. And don't you think it's just so frustrating when you cannot get hold of a person? The worst thing was trying to ring BT to get my mum and dad's line checked, because you ring them, it rings a couple of times, or it rings once, it goes duk, and just dies. And I've tried moving the handset, changing the handset, putting a different one in, ringing them from different things, like from a landline, ringing them from a mobile. Sometimes you go straight through, sometimes it does this weird thing to say when it rings, and that's annoying because they're getting lots of hospital appointments coming through, and the hospital aren't always going to ring back, certainly not straight away. So I really did want to get it sorted out. So we tried it with various things. It wasn't working, so I tried to ring BT. Now, you would think, being a telecommunications company, British Telecom, would be easy enough to ring up and speak to a human being, but not if you've got a fault. I mean, if you want to move to them and take out a contract of some sort with them, I'm sure they're very willing to pick up the phone. But with a fault, you had to, I think I rang, and it kept taking me round and round in circles, telling me I could go online to do it. Well, I'd already started by trying to go online to do it. And then did I have a fault? They'll do an automated line check, which they did. They don't tell you what the answer is, so you're sitting there thinking, well, okay, so you've done an automated line check. What's going to happen next? And then eventually I received a text to say that one of their customer advisors would be calling us in a bit. Well, I was thinking, well, if my mum or my dad had to do this, they just wouldn't have been able to cope with all of this. They wouldn't have been able to cope with sitting on the phone for ages, a million different options to choose. And then they wouldn't, my dad certainly, he has a mobile phone, but he doesn't know how to text. He doesn't text. He uses it literally occasionally. If he knows my mum's not about, he'll switch it on so that if we need to get hold of him, we can. I just think, well, God, how does anybody deal with that? It's if they're a bit old and infirm. So they did ring me back after about 10 minutes, and then needed to speak to my dad to get permission to speak about his account. And then by the time he'd spoken to them, to give his permission, they'd just gone silent. So they were still there. They hadn't hung up. They were completely silent. I thought perhaps he'd accidentally muted my phone. He hadn't. So we sat there for ages waiting for somebody to speak to them. Then the phone cut out. So then I had to do the whole process again, speak to another person who finally said, okay, I've done a line check. There doesn't appear to be anything wrong with the line, but sometimes there can be something closer into the box that comes into the house. So I'm going to send an engineer out. And they finally did book an appointment. They sent an engineer out. And well, they're going to send an engineer out today. So let's hope they could get that sorted. If not, I'm going to have to order them some new phones, I think. But I didn't want to do that without finding out if there was anything wrong with the line. So it's all a bit of a mystery. It's a bit odd. It's a bit strange that it's so intermittent, and they did it with another phone as well when I plugged that in. So it's a bit odd. So that was frustrating, not being able to just ring BT and speak to somebody. But it wasn't as bad as when I then had an issue with my YouTube Google AdSense account. I do run adverts on this channel, as you will have noticed, because they're annoying. But there was an issue with that. Well, can you speak to anybody? Is there a telephone number? I found this increasingly with companies. They do not want the expense of a call centre. They don't want people ringing in. They try to help you with articles. So if you've got an issue, you can put in the help box, I'm having an issue with this, and it will give you some articles to read. Well, one size does not fit all. And the problem that I was having just wasn't being answered by these. Could you do live chat? No, not that I could see. Could you email anybody? No. Could you ring anybody? No phone number. So I've really muddled along. I've been asking other YouTubers, what do you think? What do you think I should do? I've got this issue. And I may have resolved it. It's not quite resolved yet, but it's very frustrating. I mean, if I ever have a problem with YouTube, I was looking with them as well, thinking there's no number, there's no way of actually contacting them that I can see. If you know otherwise, please tell me in the comments below. eBay is another one that I occasionally have to speak to. You can actually eventually get hold of eBay. You have to actually search the internet for an eBay phone number. It's quite hard to find it on their site. And they do another thing, they present you with all these articles that might help you or might not. But that's another one where you go around in circles trying to find somebody. And I know it's a deliberate thing because I used to work for the local council in their contact centre, and there was discussion. I remember there being discussions that I was involved in about, how can we hide the phone numbers on the internet? So you try and get people, we push them to do things online rather than ringing up, which is fine if you've got a very good online system, you've got a computer, you're not 90 like my dad, you know how to use the computer, or you've got a relative that can deal with it for you. But it's not fine otherwise. So you need somebody who knows the system. And it does luckily work for some things. I applied for a blue badge, disabled parking badge for my dad because he didn't have one of his own. He kind of relied on being out with my mum who has one. But recently, of course, she's not been coming with us because she's got a broken leg and is housebound. So if I've had to take him anywhere, I couldn't use the badge. You're not allowed to use somebody else's badge or you might get it confiscated. So I applied for one for him, and because I knew the system, I did it all online. It went through very quickly and they were very good. So that's a plus. That's a win for this month so far. But otherwise, I've just had lots of frustrating phone calls. I found an issue on my mobile account as well, where I was being overcharged for something, and I did manage to get through to people fairly easily. That was not the issue. But when I got there, they were kind of suggesting that this is something I should have noticed, and it was kind of my fault. And yes, they're right. I should have noticed. I'm supposed to be really on the ball with these things, but I didn't notice. It's not obvious when you use the app. So you kind of assume that they know what they're doing. Well, they didn't know what they're doing. They've been overcharging me for a while. So I should have noticed that, and I didn't. But the advisor kind of said to me, well, how come you've only just noticed this? I said, well, I assume you know what you're doing. And I said, don't be so patronising and rude. You're the one who does this for a living. You know how your system works. You could spot if there's an error. I'm a customer. I'm relying on you to explain to me how these things work, not expect me to pick up on your mistakes And at which point he swiftly backtracked and apologised, and especially when I mentioned the complain word, and I have put in a complaint because I think it's a bit rubbish. So it's frustrating. I'm an angry old woman. One of those frustrating weeks. And I did achieve something in the end. I actually finally, we've got a big long list of things we've got to do to try and make our house ready for a potential sale in early next year we're aiming for. But there's quite a lot to do. I know your house doesn't have to be perfect to sell it, but if you want to get the best price, then it's worth, I think, spending a little bit of time tarting it up. So that's what we're doing. But I haven't really had any energy to do anything. Justin's been really busy doing other stuff, so he did the gardens, but he was helping his brother out with some stuff as well. So I thought I was kind of getting fed up. I hadn't done anything this month towards it. So in the end, I thought, when you've got this massive task, break it down into little chunks and just do a little bit. It's like somebody on my Facebook put a little kind of quotation from somewhere. If you can't clean the whole room, just clean a corner of the room. So it's that kind of mentality. So you feel like you've achieved something. So I just sprayed the mirror gold. So I'll show you that. I was quite pleased with how that turned out. The other thing we're having an issue with here is foxes. I think foxes are beautiful creatures. They are beautiful. However, since I had a dog, I have gone off them massively. They are a menace. They're a nuisance. They really wind Archie up. We'll go out for the last walk of the evening just to get him to do a wee before we go to bed. And they follow us around and they distract him so much that he just is barking at them and pulling them and he forgets to wee. And you literally cannot get away from them. And last night there was, I think it must have been a dog fox. It looked quite big. And it was just 10 paces behind us the whole time, and I couldn't shoo it away. I felt a little bit threatened by it. I mean, it wasn't aggressive, but I thought, hang on, you're a fox, you're supposed to be scared of me. And it wasn't. It wouldn't leave me alone. It would not leave both of us alone. I couldn't get away from it. I was trying to walk down the road. Every time I looked, it was behind us. It had kind of followed us and was ducking in behind hedges and going into people's gardens and literally driving him mad. Finally got him to do a wee, came home, and it was literally running up and down our garden and driving him mad. He was barking and I had to pull the blind down and shut him somewhere else in the end. And they do things like they pull out all of the bags. You can put the bin bags out, even if you do them on the day, that morning, they'll be out there. They're brazen. They just literally go out in the daytime. They don't just come out at night. They start ripping the bin bags to pieces. I don't put anything out till the last minute now, but I did put a bag of textiles out because our council does a textiles collection. And I did that the night before thinking that'll be safe. Foxes won't want textiles. They ripped it to pieces. All our old clothes were scattered around the street in front of the house and weed on, and they'd marked on them. So I literally had to pick them all up and throw them in the bin. So they are a nuisance and I don't know what to do about them. And obviously I don't want to, I wouldn't want pest controlling, not that they would deal with foxes anyway. I think they're lovely. We need to learn to live side by side, but they are so successful in this area that they have become a massive nuisance. So our lodger works for the local zoo. So I thought what I might do, she works in the hyena enclosure. I might see if she can get some lion poo. I don't want to terrify our cats. And I don't want also Archie, he can't go in the garden at the night anyway at the moment, but I don't want him to be really scared by strange smells of lions and hyenas. But I think I might give it a try just to kind of do the perimeter, all around the perimeter of the garden and the front garden particularly, so they don't keep running in front, making him bark at night. So that might work. I'll let you know how I get on if I do that. Because I've been so useless and tired, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. And it's funny that I was watching What Vivi Did Next this morning. I don't know if you follow her. She's worth it. She's really great. I like her. I was watching one she did last week, I think, this morning, and she was saying that she really just can't get to grips with audiobooks and she wants a real proper book in her hand. And she hates Kindles as well for the same reason. And I can understand that. I like books. I had to really make myself get rid of some books recently. I like the idea of just having shelves full of books. But in reality, I don't read them very much now. I find that if I'm on holiday, I'll read them. But if I've got a bit of a fibro episode, I find I can't concentrate on them. And I also use audiobooks when I am listing on eBay, or when I'm doing housework, or when I'm doing decorating, things like that. I just find I really like having a book going in the background without me having to actually pick it up and turn the pages, and you obviously can't do that when you're doing other things. So I'm the opposite of Vivi, but I do get them all for free on an app called BorrowBox. So if you are interested in audiobooks and want free books, in the UK anyway, there's this app called BorrowBox, and it links up with your local library. I assume all libraries do it. I don't know if they do. Maybe they don't. Maybe they have a different app. But it's just brilliant when you consider what you could pay for a Kindle subscription. I think it's about sort of £8 or £9 a month, and you only get one or two books. So it's really good value. You don't get every single title you could ever imagine, but you get a lot of different titles, and I've been listening to a lot of those. And I'm listening to one at the moment. What's it called? The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, and it's read by Jim Broadbent, who is a actor from Harry Potter, isn't he, and from various other things, and he's brilliant. It's great. This is such a good book. I'm really enjoying it. So that's quite nice to do. So I find ways around feeling a bit fibro, other than just watching endless telly, and I can just sit and do something quietly, maybe doing a bit of listing, and that kind of thing. So I've been doing that, so I would recommend that. So anyway, I meant to do a vlog, and I didn't really film much because of all of the things I've been talking about. So I've got a few bits though, so I'll show you a little mini vlog of the week and see what you think. As I say, I haven't spent very much, but I have been concerned because finally people have kind of cottoned on to the fact that energy prices are going through the roof. There's been a lot about it in the news. We've been talking about it on this channel for some time. And I was just thinking, I'm having a low spend February because I want to do other things with my money. Some people live like that already. They don't have any extra. They are frugal to the nth degree because they have to be, because they don't have any extra money. And it kind of really worries me for those people. I think, how on earth, if you say are a single parent and you've got children and you can't work because your children are small, or you have a disability or something like that, how are those people, if they're on benefits or a low income, how are they going to manage with everything going through the roof? I mean, you can cut your bills so much with frugal habits and by being clever, and a lot of us can make more improvements in that, I'm sure, to expedite rising inflation and rising energy costs. But you've probably already pared back as much as you possibly can with life if you're on a very low income. So it really does worry me. I don't know, what do you think? Is there anything you can do? I'm sure people like that have already done the things that frugal YouTubers and bloggers like me suggest, like, cutting your cable bill and making sure you've got the lowest mobile contract, and maybe you can't even afford cable or internet. Maybe you can't afford a mobile. It's really, really difficult. So, but that's I'm kind of off a rant really again, but that's been on my mind a lot this week. So what do you think? Are you already on a bare bones budget? Are you very worried about what's going to happen in months ahead? Here's our homemade Valentine's cards that we made for each other. Justin's gone for the traditional picture, photograph cutout. I went for something arty-farty. Look at that. He said, "You didn't make that." I said, "I definitely did, out of some old card that I had." So you don't have to spend a lot on Valentine's Day, do you? To show someone you love them. So I am looking, as you can see, at this big mirror, which my daughter started painting and abandoned. It was supposed to be done as part of our bedroom refurb, and I just haven't got around to doing it. So I'm going to do it today. And what I'm going to do is spray it gold. So I think that will look quite nice, sprayed gold in our bedroom, because a lot of the artwork has gold frames, so hopefully that will go. I'm just trying to work out whether to do it inside or outside, but it looks like it's going to rain, so I think I'm just going to have to do it as best I can inside and then do that last little bit later. Although, to be honest, no one's going to see that bottom part, are they? the bottom of the bottom. So anyway, yes, onwards and upwards, here we go. Look at that, it's a work of art, isn't it? Who'd have thought that this would be really complicated? I've just put some masking tape and some newspaper over the mirror, and it's going to have to go flat. It's actually pouring downstairs, outside rather, so I'm going to have to get some sheeting and do this flat on the floor, I think. And I'll probably need to go and get some sandpaper anyway to do the next stage. Okay, so the first coat is done. Got the window open in here. Don't want to kill myself with all these chemicals. My masking tape has come off a bit in that corner, so I'm really hoping it hasn't got onto the glass, but we shall see. So I'm going to leave that for half an hour or so, go and do some other bits, and then come back and do a second coat. It says touch dry in 20 minutes, so if I leave it 30, hopefully the second coat will be okay. I think I'll have to also stand it up and just do the bits that I've missed that are covered in the dust sheets. So, but that was really quick. I don't know why I've put it off for so long. It's so quick to do. Okay, so while I am in decluttering mode, this is one cupboard that really needs sorting out. I tend to keep all sorts of plastic containers like this because I make a lot of soup and they are really handy. I can stick them in the freezer or just in the fridge. And I keep these takeaway things. We don't actually have any takeaways, hardly ever, but other people do, the lodgers and my daughters when they're here. So we keep them. But it's such a muddle now that this cupboard has developed a mind of its own and it's really cluttered. Sometimes we open it and everything falls out. So it needs sorting. I don't think we need all of these plastic containers. Some of them can go in the recycling. I'm just trying to do a little bit at a time and stop getting so cluttered inside the cupboards. So this is my next cupboard to tackle. So another tidy cupboard. Thank goodness for that. Got my Kenwood mixer bits in the box up there, and they're the mixers I use a lot. And the rest is just Tupperware, and I don't need any more Tupperware than this. This is enough. I've put these together now because I find if I take them apart, they lose their lids and the lids don't all quite equally fit. And I've kept a few yoghurt things and butter pots for my soup to put in the freezer, but I don't need all of that lot. This is all part of a bigger kind of declutter plan, and I've just got to keep on top of it. It looks better anyway, doesn't it? And I also sorted through the herbs and spices the other day as well, because that was a bit of a mess. So now I've got all of the spices on the bottom shelf. I've got herbs and gravy and this is what I use instead of onions on the middle shelf, the herbs and things. I've got stock cubes and a few kind of mixes for things on the top shelf. So actually I can find things now. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's see what it looks like. I did get some little bit of gold down there. Let's see if I can get that on. What do you think, Dora? Little cat being nosy. And now we've got a little dog being nosy too. Hello, you come to help? Cats and dogs. Yeah, that's mostly okay, I think. Apart from that little bit of gold down there. Let's see if I can scrape that off. Oh, it looks like it will scrape off. That's my next job. Archie's just chilling out on the bed. He's so fluffy and tired. You, this little boy. But anyway, I was really coming to show you the mirror. So the mirror is ready to go on the wall, but then we realised we didn't have any kind of good wire that's going to actually keep it in place. So I think Justin's getting something together from eBay maybe, and then we'll get that put on that wall. So the wall's been bare for a long time waiting for this mirror. But I think it looks really effective just with a bit of gold spray paint. It's really perfect. I'm very pleased with that. He got very wet and needed a bath. Very good drag all sad. Sorry, don't you? See, look. He's the blue nun. Hey, are you nice? So that's it for this week. That's a bit of a mini vlog for you, and a major rant from me. So if you liked this rant and me just warbling on, then please do give me the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit your notifications bell so you know next time I publish a video. I will see you next time. Bye for now.